Wits law professor Tracy-Lynn Field is talking about illegal mining, saying it's out of control and government needs to consider formalising it as a livelihood. This as the communities on the West Rand accuse illegal miners of rape, housebreaking and killing. We've seen that violence over the last week or so. Police arresting scores of undocumented illegal miners in the past week after 8 women were gang raped near a mine dump in Krugersdorp. Well, the good professor, Tracy-Lynn Field, joining us again to talk about this. Prof, good morning to you. Appreciate your time as always here on eNCA. Can we just clear something up, if you don't mind? I'm seeing a lot of people reacting to the words illegal and artisanal mining. Help us understand the difference. What exactly is artisanal mining?
Morning, Gareth. Artisanal mining is mining that uses rudimentary tools, so no mechanization, just hand picks, shovels, and so on. And it's illegal because our mining law doesn't recognize any form of mining. It doesn't recognize that form of mining. So it only recognizes very large-scale mining, and then what we call for the mining permits. So you can get a permit for like mining 5 hectares with machinery, but everything else is criminalized. So the law makes this a criminal activity.
So let's talk about that law then for a moment and the questions around whether this should be legalized by government to consider making it a livelihood. How would something like that even work? Could it work in a country like ours?
Yes, I think it can work, and it has to work, because how are you going to keep thousands and thousands of poor people looking to make a living out of the land that is the Witwatersrand? Honestly, how are you going to keep people out? So there is a policy proposal on the table to create a permit system that will allow people to pursue artisanal mining. There is an association of national artisanal miners that is interested in this happening. But now we're dealing with a situation that has got out of control. And the question is, how does government gain control and then create opportunities for people who want to pursue this livelihood? And there's a dependency ratio. So the Benchmarks Foundation has said that the dependency ratio of artisanal miners is 1 in 8. So in actual fact, the figures are that there are about 280,000 people dependent on artisanal mining, if you think that there are only 30,000 zamas.
I suppose the argument could be made as well, Prof, that even if this were to be legalized, this artisanal mining were to be legalized, that would probably be only open to those who are here in our country with the proper documentation. It doesn't really solve the issue of illegal immigrants using our minerals to enrich themselves. I suppose there's that argument as well, isn't there?
Yes, that is the argument, and the permit system that's on the table is reserved for South Africans. There are arguments against that have to do with the history of large-scale gold mining in our country and the equity of excluding all of people from neighbouring countries. But I think that's a policy debate that needs to happen.
So where does government begin to do this, though, and how do they try and bring in the various stakeholders? Because the other side of this argument, again, is we need to rid the areas, and I know we're talking about just the West Rand, but there are areas in Ekurhuleni as well, but right now the focus is on the West Rand particularly. The issue needs to first of all be to get on top of the zama issue and then bring this in as some kind of policy framework, or else what you're going to end up doing is providing legal documentation for artisanal mining. Then you're going to end up with even more fighting between those who are legally allowed to do it and those who are doing it illegally.
Yeah, agreed. We need a multifaceted response. They need to gain control, and we're talking not just about the surface, we're talking about thousands of kilometers of underground tunnels. So it's become a very difficult situation. But yeah, you've got to start somewhere.
No, I don't think many people would argue. You've got to start somewhere. You can't just keep on complaining about it as a country and as a people. We've got to start somewhere. Prof, I'm going to ask you to put your environmental and sustainability hat on for a moment as well. How sustainable really is artisanal mining in our country, considering that really what many of these zamas, and even if this were to become legal, they're really fighting for scraps. Just how profitable could mining at this level be, knowing there really isn't very much left after the mining companies have left?
No, I think that is a false assumption. That the research is showing that this is one of the most lucrative and also violent artisanal sectors in Africa. the figures are around 14 billion rands worth of gold production per year is being lost. So although it's not profitable for large-scale mining, it does make sense for artisanal mining. But the question is, how do you make that, environmentally? The use of mercury, for example, is rampant in this industry, but there are alternatives to that. So that the health and environmental and safety considerations have always been a hurdle. But we need to engage with that and allow some people to start mining formally and legally, even though there are lots of difficulties.
As I say goodbye to you, Prof, who do you imagine picks up the mining pan here and runs with it? Where does this start? Department of Home Affairs, Department of Environmental Affairs, Department of Industry? Where and who picks up this baton and tries to take what you're suggesting forward?
Okay, thanks for the question. At the moment, this has been seen as a security issue, but it is a mining issue, and it's interesting to me that the Department of Mineral Resources is not top of the list. The Department of Mineral Resources must lead an interdisciplinary ministerial team to take this in hand.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Prof. I always appreciate your time in speaking to us. Tracy-Lynn Field, Professor Tracy-Lynn Field, University of Witwatersrand, of Environmental and Sustainability Law, talking about artisanal mining, as it's now known. I'm glad I clarified what exactly that was as well. Trying to make it legal, is that maybe the way to handle this situation? As always,